Teach me?
First learn stand, then learn fly.
Yeah.
Nature ruled on you, son, not the mine.
I know what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo. But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
What is the most inspiring thing I ever said to you?
Don't be an idiot. Changed my life.
Welcome to the Cybersecurity Mentors Podcast. I'm John Hoyt.
And I'm Steve Higuereta. We are here to be your guides for all things cybersecurity mentorship.
Join us as we explore the stories, insights, and invaluable lessons shared by mentors and mentees alike.
We are here to empower and inspire you on your cybersecurity journey. So get ready for a deep dive into the world of cybersecurity mentorship.
All right, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about one of the most popular questions, most common questions that we get and most folks get that are in cybersecurity. And it's, how do I get a job in cybersecurity? How do I get experience if I don't have experience? The catch-22. And it's, never ending. People hear about cybersecurity. They hear how cool it is. They see the stuff on TV, right? And they're like, this is what I want to do. I hear there's money in cyber, right? And so we get this question often. And I've got opinions. I've got definitely recommendations. I would say, have helped lots of people get into cybersecurity. So we have some experience. We've been there. We've done it. But so Steve, somebody walks up to you and they're like, hey man, I am so interested in cybersecurity. I've been doing my homework. I've been watching YouTube videos. I got a lab and I'm into this thing. How do I actually get a job in cybersecurity? What would you start with?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. First of all, I would, chat with them, try and see the reasons they are interested in cybersecurity. Like you mentioned, I've come across individuals who have seen, cool movies, cool TV shows, and they think they're interested in cybersecurity, but they have no idea other than what they've seen on TV. So just trying to get an idea of where they're coming from, right? Like, what about cybersecurity interests you, right? Is it the day-to-day challenges that you will see as a cybersecurity professional? Is it the money? Is it just something you've always been curious about and you think you're interested? So just talking to them and trying to figure out the real reason behind their interest, right? Now, if it is like, hey, I've always been interested in cybersecurity. It's something that's always been on the back of my mind. I just have never really pulled the trigger on it, but I think I'm ready now. Then yeah, we will talk in detail about, what is cybersecurity, right? It's not always what you see in the movies, right? It's not all the sexy stuff with the hacking and this and that. There's a lot to cybersecurity. So I think the first thing I always tend to do is just explain to them what cybersecurity really is outside of those cool movie scenes that you see, right? And maybe give them examples on what it is that I do. What's my day-to-day look like, right? As a cybersecurity professional, starting from an intern, working my way all the way up to deputy CISO, like what has been my day-to-day in different positions, different situations. And then just try and figure out what have they done so far up until this moment when they approached me and asked me, how can I get into cyber? What should I do to get into cyber? What have you done on your own? Because that'll also show, how interested are you, right? Are you thinking about it, or no? I have taken steps. I have watched some YouTube videos. I follow individuals on social media. I've read books. I've taken some certifications or started looking into certifications. All of that really tells me, kind of where to take the conversation once somebody approaches me with that question.
So yeah, you're gauging interest level, which we've definitely seen folks come up and they tell us that, and you're like, you're not really sure. You think it sounds cool, but you haven't done your homework. So that's one category. And then you've got folks that are all in, and they're watching YouTube videos, they're listening to podcasts, they're practicing skills, which is awesome. That's the next level of, okay, this person is interested, their serious level of interest is higher. And maybe they're trying to, I think there's a category there too. If you have no IT experience, you've never done information technology, and you've done it, and or you have a job in it. That's usually a big subcategory, is have you ever done information technology, because it's a harder hill to climb if you've never done IT before. Not that you can't do it, but it is something you have to think about. Okay, now you have to build these pillars up, and you may have to pick a pillar. And when I talk about pillars to folks, usually I think about 3 IT pillars, and those are networking, system administration, and or coding, developing. And then if you're going the GRC route, there's like a policy pillar there, more compliance pillar, that you don't necessarily have to be as heavy in the IT stuff, but you do need to understand it. You have to have a level of understanding. So one of these things that comes up, that it's not frustrating, it's interesting. People are like, there's no entry level jobs in cybersecurity, and I'm like, look, when I got into cybersecurity, there were no entry level jobs either. Like you couldn't just go roll into a SOC analyst position. There were few and far between, even SOCs around. There weren't even SOCs, security operations centers. So you had to go and get skills in a pillar that got you to a certain level. Then you're trying to beg, borrow, and steal how to even do security. There weren't all the things that there are today, YouTube and being able to Google and blog articles about how to get into cyber, and all the cyber skill sets, and Hack the Box, and all these other tools you can use today to learn the skills for security. You had to just be like, all right, I'm going to be good at networking. I'm going to be good at system administration or developing, or all 3, try to level up all of those, which is hard. And then, it was kind of just like, okay, who do you know? How do I talk to somebody that knows how to do this, that has a job, that could tell me more about how do I get a job? And it was hard because there weren't there weren't really security teams, that many security teams. So I think those coming back to that 2 categories of people. You've got IT experience, you've got no IT experience. And you have to think about, my recommendation is to, if you can, get some IT experience, pick one of those categories to level up in. You don't have to completely get to, black belt level in those areas, but you do need to have the foundation and fundamentals that when you try to branch into cybersecurity, you have something to go from. You're not just starting blank. But so let me back up a little bit. When somebody talks to you about this, Steve, and you've got their interest level measured, and they're really interested. They're like, they've been doing all the things. Then what? What do you tell them next?
Yeah, so I try to explain the different areas of cybersecurity, like you just mentioned, the some of the different areas, and try and see if they've already explored certain areas. If they have, and let's say they have an interest in, what we consider red team pen testing, right? The sexy side of cybersecurity, then I would point them to some books or some podcasts or some individuals on social media that I would say, are you following these people already? Or are you listening to these podcasts already? What have you done in terms of hands-on keyboard stuff when it comes to red team or pen testing? And then just try and kind of get an idea of what they've done so far, but then also recommend things, right, that they can do on the technical side, like hack the box or just other things that you can find online that can kind of help them. Two things: get an understanding of what that could be like, right? To be in a pen test, to perform some red team actions, and or just to keep learning around that topic. But that's really narrowing down to a specific I guess area if they know that already. A lot of the individuals I come across, they have no idea, right? They're just getting into cybersecurity themselves. They're trying to learn a little bit here, a little bit there. So for those situations, if it's someone that may have technical experience, may have a technical background, um, then I try to talk to them more about, what are the steps that you need to take from where you are now, your current position, to potentially get your foot in the door to a entry level cybersecurity position. Now that could mean a lot of things depending on where you are with your skill level or kind of where you are in your path, in your journey. But I like to start off with just some basic certifications, right? Some of the basic certifications that you can get as an entry level cybersecurity professional that will at least show potential employers that you are serious about cybersecurity and that you have learned some of the fundamentals, right? And that's kind of where I tend to go to at first, kind of just kind of talk to them, show them the way, get their interest level, get an idea of where it is that they want to, I guess, start a career. And if they don't know, then that kind of takes me down a different path of just, helping them see and helping them learn and understand all the different areas of this cybersecurity umbrella that there is, right? And then there's some stuff online that I could share on our Discord of just like some like online quizzes and stuff that it's very simple things, right? But it kind of, you answer some questions about what you currently do or what you're interested in, and it kind of somewhat gives you examples of areas within cybersecurity that where you could use some of those skills that you already have that kind of translate into certain areas of cybersecurity. So I can do that, but just trying to get them to have some sort of an idea about where in cyber they have a level of interest, and then from there moving on to certain certifications, additional training, and or other individuals within social media platforms that they can kind of follow and learn from. That's kind of what my next steps are.
So, one of the things, let me back up to on the whole IT skills. One thing that I was thinking about is that a good way to approach this is to learn how to build something. For example, I'll give you an example. Active Directory, Microsoft Active Directory is mostly in just about every environment. Learn in your lab, say, what's a lab? Okay, I got to build a lab. Figure out how to build a lab. There's so many different ways you can go research how to build a lab. But learn how to build an Active Directory environment, build a domain controller, build out the users and groups, and it doesn't have to be anything extensive, but learn how to build it, then learn how to secure it, then learn how to hack it, right? So you do that kind of process over and over, and those are the skills that you're working on. Learn how to build stand up an Apache web server that has a basic whatever PHP website on there that you could even probably just import. Somebody's already built a website that's for testing. Learn how to stand up a Linux server that has Apache on it that is running PHP or something like that. Learn how to stand it up, learn how it works, learn how to defend it, how you secure it, make sure these settings are configured, like, these risky configurations are turned off, then turn those off and learn how to hack those things, right? Oh, okay, if I'm a bad guy, this is in your own lab, And there's so many ways you can find tutorials on this stuff, right? It's not like it used to be where you're just figuring it out. That's good. There's some pros and cons of that, but really mostly it's good that you don't have to start from scratch and just beat your head on the table. But build it, secure it, hack it. And that you can do that without even having to go do a service that's out there. You just create it in your own on your laptop, right? Using virtual machines. You can do all this stuff without having to really spend a lot of money. You can pretty much do it all free, except for having your actual laptop. And if you're going to get in security, you need a laptop or a desktop, right? But build it, secure it, hack it, and just do that over and over and over. And you build those muscles up that when you show up and you are talking to somebody and they're asking you questions like, well, tell me what you've done. And you're like, I built a lab. Well, that's cool and all. But if you say, this is what I've done with my lab, I built an Active Directory environment. I learned how to configure it. I learned how to harden it. And then I learned how to hack it. People are going to be like, that's awesome. Do that. Tell me more. Tell me how you got there and what else did you build and hack and secure. So that would be some more specific recommendations that I would tell folks. Like, you do that, you're going to build up the skill set, even if you don't have the actual on the job opportunity to do that yet. But your actual muscle in those areas is going to be strong the more you do it and get that work in and get those reps in. And even after you get into security, you should do these things as you're building up your skill set. You never stop learning, always keeping that skill set going. And the same thing, like say you're going down the GRC route, you can learn these frameworks, learn how they are implemented, learn how somebody would evaluate you against a control like NIST 853 or the CIS top 20 controls, and understand what they are. And they're a little bit, I would say it's a little easier because it's pretty straightforward. Do you have this in place? Do you not have this in place? And that's something that you should do just to give you a framework anyways, even if you're really going down the technical route. But it's good to understand, what are these controls? When somebody says this, I'm not like, what is that? That's completely foreign. So yeah, I think that would be, if you do that, you're going to be on top of your game and building up your skill set to be ready for the next step. But what would you say, Steve? If somebody's done that, they've listened to us, what's the next step?
No, first of all, let me just say I love that example that you just gave about the domain controllers, Active Directory, and I agree. I completely agree. I think there is no better training or practice other than actual hands-on experience. And just one thing I do want to say is, there's a lot of stuff out there, right? A lot of resources, a lot of videos, just training material in general that is free. It is completely free. If you get on YouTube, even on different social medias, different websites, there's just free content for you to get your feet wet, to get the basic understanding, the learning. You don't have to go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in these like boot camp like things out there. You don't have to do that at all. There is a lot of free content out there right now where you everything that you would need to go from not knowing anything in cybersecurity but just having an interest to potentially getting your foot in the door and getting an entry level job in cybersecurity. There's just a lot of stuff out there. So, please, try to go down that route before you start, investing a lot of money in these boot camps, where most of them, to my experience, go out and use some of this free resources that are already out there. They just put it all together and tie it in a bow, and then they hand it to you and they charge you thousands of dollars for it. You don't want to do that. And if you would like some help with getting directed to certain things, please let us know in our Discord, and we'll be happy to direct you and show you just free things online right now that you can take advantage of, that you can use for your benefit, and it's completely free. So with that though, to answer your question, John, I think once we have done all of that we've talked about, I think now for me, my experience, I would ask them, have you even looked at companies that you would like to work for? Have you looked at different positions that you are interested in? Have you looked at, different position descriptions on LinkedIn, Indeed, different job postings? And if you, at this point, you've kind of done some learning on your own, you've done some hands-on training, you maybe have an idea of where you would like to begin your career in cybersecurity, so that would be helpful. But if we have an interest in a company, say, I don't know, say you're gonna go work for NVIDIA, and there's a position there, right? Entry level position or even mid level position in cybersecurity that you're interested in, and you've reviewed the position description. And there are things in that position description that you have never heard of before. Then my next recommendation would be get familiar with those things and what they are. And if you are able to get some hands-on experience on maybe some of the security tools listed, or maybe some of the frameworks that they are following, or they are looking for someone with experience in, like John mentioned, start learning those things. Start putting yourself in situations where you can answer, even if it's just basic questions about those topics before you apply, right? You don't need to know everything or get to a black belt level like John mentioned earlier, but learn the fundamentals. Know enough to where you can ask a basic question and you can answer a basic question about that specific tool, topic, framework, whatever it may be. So, do you have companies that you would like to work for? Are there positions that you would like to apply to? And if so, review the position description and try and be able to check the box on the majority of the items in that position description before you even attempt to apply.
Yeah, that's great. I've used that same thing throughout my career. That just not even security, just advice. Said, look at those job descriptions and just look at what they list. Well, that's what they're looking for. That's your list. That's what they are asking somebody to have. Now, that's usually their wish list. And don't get intimidated if you don't have the wish list, right? It's the wish list. Like, hey, this person has all these things. And most of the time, as we know, because we hire people, nobody has all the check boxes, right? But use that as a guideline of, okay, I want to be a penetration tester. What are they asking for? What skill sets? What certifications? What degrees? Right? And then you have your plan. Okay, maybe it's a year plan, maybe it's a 2-year, 3-year plan, whatever. But what's going to take for me to get these skills and certifications? And in security, it's changed a lot, where it used to be, well, it's changed. It's kind of changed as far as like what requirements you need. But now a lot of IT jobs aren't, you have to have a bachelor's and then a master's and then certifications and whatever. It's we need people, show us what you know how to do and prove that you've done it. And that could be just certifications and experience, or you're just after it. You're trying to get your foot in the door and you're getting after it, and you can do these things. Not just, maybe you haven't done them in a real environment, but you know how to do it because you've got the practice in. But use that as a wish list, or use the items on a job description as a list of things to go and put on your plan to do, to get better at, for sure. So I really like that. And one of those things as a skill, we've been talking about technical skills, is soft skills, right? And to me, honestly, the soft skills, the social skills have been what have made my career accelerate and leveled me up faster than just the technical skills. I've always been pretty solid technically. I've been mostly a jack of all trades throughout my career, which works for me. And I think it works in security. It doesn't have to be this way. You can be a specialist and be very deep dive into something. But for me and my kind of role, you have to be able to talk to all these areas and work with them and understand their language for a developer or for networking, whatever. So that's just my experience. But soft skills and leveling up how to interact with people, right? This is the thing. This is a problem that we have in IT and in this industry in cybersecurity is you get super technical folks, super sharp, but they can't talk to management. They can't talk to other people. They're not good team members. And you could be amazing at security, but if you come in and we interview you and we think this person's going to just want to hide in their room, they're not going to interact with others, they're not going to play well with others, they're not going to be a great team member, we're going to be very hesitant to move to the next step. And I know it's, as an introvert, I may not seem this way, but I've always been an introvert. I'm a I can put on the two faces, extrovert, introvert, but I want to be doing my own thing in my own room and not really be out there talking to people most of the time. Until I am in that mode, then I'm going to talk to everybody and I can't shut up. But I get it, right? It's uncomfortable. It's a thing that you don't want to do, but it's like a muscle like anything else. It is. The more you put yourself out there, the more you interact, the more you, even things like presenting on things, that's part of that social skill and the soft skill of being able, because when you go to a job interview, you're presenting yourself. You're selling, which is a soft skill. You're selling you. So when you present, you're also selling in a way. You're convincing, you're trying to encourage, you're doing whatever, but it's that muscle that you're building and to use to show others a topic or talk about a topic. And really, social engineering is good. It's a good thing. It is not necessarily a bad thing. It can be used for bad and it can be used for good, right? You've heard social engineering in regards to phishing and other things. Well, social engineering, those skill sets are good skill sets to have for good. For example, meeting people, getting to know somebody, building rapport with somebody, wanting and showing interest in somebody else, right? You're not just worried about you, and talking about you all the time. You're actually trying to get to know them because you care. And that social skill, it's something that it's a skill. That's the awesome part about it. These are skills that you can work on, that you can get better at. And I really want to make sure people don't forget about that and they just focus on the hard skills, the big things, the technical skills. That I can't stress that enough. It's definitely something to help out. What do you think, Steve?
So I agree. Social skills are a very, very important part of a successful career in cybersecurity. Right? There are areas, or sorry, there have been times where I have been a hiring manager and I have had multiple individuals apply for a entry level cybersecurity position. And surprisingly, in certain situations, we've gone with someone that is less technical, but has more social skills. So, kind of some of the things that you mentioned, right? We want to work with someone who can be a team player, somebody who can, interact with individuals, work as a team, be able to make presentations on what they're seeing, what incidents are they working on, kind of explain what they see, what they're interpreting, and what they've accomplished and been able to do. So in a high stress situation where you have something, everything's on fire, you need somebody who can take a deep breath, turn to the side and say, all right, this is what I think's going on. This is what I've checked. This is what maybe we should do next. Right. And you need someone who is able to play in a team, who's able to communicate, keep calm, and then also go ahead and go to their manager, their supervisor, and interact, and also just kind of talk about what they're seeing in the incident. And I'm a big believer, and I think you are too, John, where I feel like I can teach someone cybersecurity. Um, I guess I don't want to say faster, but I feel like I'm in my experience, I have been able to teach someone cybersecurity. It takes a little bit longer to teach the social skills, to get them to the social level where they can be successful. I'm not saying it cannot be done. We have done it. It does take a little bit of time, and it takes the willingness of that individual, right? Do they want to improve in these areas? First of all, do they even see these areas as a area for improvement, right? So it really kind of depends on the individual, but we can teach cyber, right? It's just those social skills that are a little harder to kind of develop, and they play an important part. They definitely do. So just kind of going back to when we were talking about the position descriptions, John made a comment. You know, just because you see the position description and you see the wish list and you don't check all of those boxes, just like John said, that should not keep you from applying. If you are interested, you should still apply. There have been situations, again, where I've been in a hiring position and we ended up hiring someone who checked the least amount of boxes on our wish list, but they had other key things that we, during the interview process, realized, you know what? I think that to us is more important than this, right? Because we think they are going to be a better fit with our overall team. And again, we can teach them the technical, we can teach them the cyber, but there are a couple other key items that they are bringing to the table. They are showing me in this interview that they have that at this moment in time, I think, you know what, that to me is more valuable. So let's give them an opportunity.
Yeah, that I've said the same thing. It's like, look, don't just let the wish list or their wish list keep you from applying. Hey, what's it going to hurt? Just apply. It's not going to hurt. You may hear nothing back. You may get a no, whatever, but it doesn't hurt anything to give that a shot and give it a try. When you mentioned the stressful situation, so this is a golden nugget for those out there who, like I said, we've interviewed and hired many security professionals, right? So one of the things that I have done before is bring somebody in and drop them into a real scenario and had them triage it and troubleshoot an incident in front of everybody, right? Like, this is a real thing. Here you go. Take the reins and work it. Now, this is a high stressful event. This is simulating a real event that usually has happened that I just reused for this interview. And what am I looking for? What are we looking for? We're not looking for somebody that's going to answer every question. The who, why, who, what, when, why, how it happened. It's how they deal with stress, how they think through the process, how they communicate. Are they telling us what's going on? Are they verbalizing what's happening and what their thought process is? Hey, this is what I'm thinking. I'm not sure, but they're just talking through it. And it's very stressful. And I've had people that have had 5-page resumes, which again, that's another nugget. That's a terrible thing to have. But these giant resumes that they thought they've done everything in the world and just crumbled in that environment because they couldn't think clearly. They couldn't, and really actually when you fleshed out what they knew how to do, they've not worked incidents. And also they didn't know how to communicate well with others. They didn't know how to work through the stress. The stress crumbled them. And it's a telling of the tale. It doesn't matter what you put on your resume, because when you do that and you work through it, I know where you are. I'm going to know where your skill sets are. I'm going to know how well you communicate with others. I'm going to know how the soft skills, what highlights and what negatives you have. So being able to deal with stressful situations. Now, how do you do that? And if you've not had a job in cybersecurity, it's tough. But I think, again, putting yourself out there, presenting, because it's stressful to present, right? You have to have your stuff in order. You have to be out there and be in front of everybody. And that's the same muscle that you're doing, because as you're working an incident, you're having to communicate. Like if it's a real incident, I'm asking like, hey, what's going on? Because I'm getting asked what's going on. I need to have updates, right? You have to communicate clearly. And even getting into doing CTFs and things like CTFs are good because you're under fire, right? You're having somebody's attacking you and you're trying to defend all these things. Well, depends on the type of CTF. But anyways, there's a under fire scenario where you're having to compete with others. I think can help build that muscle too. But ultimately, it is one of those things is the more you're working on those soft skills and building up communication skills and working under pressure and being able to communicate under pressure is a big deal, right? So when you mentioned that, just being in stressful situations, that's a real incident. That's what's going to happen. If you're getting cybersecurity, you're going to have a stressful situation where we are under attack right now. We have an incident right now, and where it's all hands on deck, and you got to be able to handle that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Just being honest, right? When you're in an interview or when you're talking to someone, having a conversation about what you know, what you don't know, that's very important. We've seen multiple times where people try to paint a picture of something that is not very true, and then they get caught. And it's embarrassing to both sides, mostly to the person who could have just said, you know what, I'm not very sure. Or, you know what, I'm going to dig more into that. I'm a little unfamiliar with that topic at the moment, but I will definitely look into it. And it just looks bad. Just be honest. Be honest with whoever you're talking to about what you know, what you don't know, what your interests are. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. But I wanted to also just kind of bring up the fact that we've kind of thrown a lot at you already in this episode, and as you can tell, John and I are very passionate about cybersecurity and helping individuals get into cyber, and we think you should. If you honestly truly have an interest in cybersecurity, go for it. Give it a shot. What is there to lose, right? But I wanted to kind of go back to what this podcast is about. Through this journey, right? You don't have to do this alone, right? There are mentors out there that can help and guide you through all of this, right? Providing guidance and support, right? If you're thinking about starting a career in cyber, if you're interested in cybersecurity, if there's somebody in the field, approach them, ask them questions, try and get a feel from someone who is doing this day to day to see if this is something that you actually want to do, right? Networking is always the best way, right? Being out there, putting yourself into positions, kind of like what we've discussed, and we will talk more in other episodes in the podcast. And then just learning from experiences, right? For example, if you reach out to me, right, I have 10 years of experience. John has even more experience than I do, but we've had experiences moving, starting a career in cybersecurity, moving ourselves up into different positions to where we are now. And by us being able to share those experiences with you, that can completely open your eyes and allow you to see way more than someone who is trying to do this on their own by themselves. If there's no need for you to do this on your own, why should you? Right? Mentors can also help with accountability. There's a lot of things that we said, that we talked about on this podcast that requires you, the individual, to go out and do things on your own, right? To go check out YouTube videos, follow different individuals on social media, do training, do hands-on stuff. And sometimes life happens and that can get kind of difficult. So if you have an accountability partner and a mentor, they can help push you. They can make sure that you're staying on track, to achieve your goals, and just inspiration as well. I mean, I've told John this many times, but he's been a huge inspiration for me in my career. Just being able to have him where I can go to him and ask him questions as things come up in my own cybersecurity career, and maybe he can share experiences and just things that he has gone through that then I can take and think about, try and put into my current situation and try to figure out my solution for my problem. So don't think that you have to go through all of this alone. And John and I, are here as well. If you guys have any questions or need any assistance, use our Discord channel.
Yeah, networking, and thanks, Steve, for you said that a couple times, just how I made an impact for you, and I really appreciate it. And it's something that I never had. We talked about that in the first episode, and I'm happy. That's why I do this, is to be able to give others the chance that I didn't have. And whenever I talk to Steve, I'm like, this is what not to do. This is what I did. This is what I did. That's probably not the smartest thing. And so learn from my mistakes, right? Learn from the things that I did that maybe you shouldn't do, or maybe you can go a different route. But yeah, networking, huge part of this. It really is not just what you know, it's who you know. That's how I got my very first cybersecurity job. It wasn't just because I was awesome. I wasn't awesome. I knew somebody here, and I was able to show that passion and interest that I had, and they knew I wasn't a crazy person, which is always a bonus. Not most of the time. And so networking. There's so many communities out there. We're building this community. We want you to be part of it. Come join us on this ride, right? But there's other communities we'll point you to as well that we're part of, that we're happy that there are these platforms for people to connect, encourage one another, build one another, and having that mentor can make a difference in a path that, maybe mistakes that you could make that could put you on a different direction, to keep you from making some of those mistakes, and or just to encourage you. That's the coolest thing about being a mentor, is you get to encourage others, help them, motivate them, get them excited about this journey in cybersecurity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been life-changing for me to get into cybersecurity, and I know many others who can say the exact same thing. So if you're interested, if you really are thinking about it, if you're interested, or just you're looking for a life change, career change, consider it. Really consider cybersecurity. It's projected, I believe the numbers are to grow 31% in terms of job openings and opportunities from, I believe the statistic was from 2019 to 2035. That's 31% increase in job opportunities. So cybersecurity is not going anywhere. It's here to stay, and it's going to grow and advance even more with AI, and who knows just where things will be in 5-10 years from now. So definitely something to consider, a career in cybersecurity.
Yeah, and just this last bit, and we'll wrap it up, is that you can do this. I know it's a lot. There's a lot of skills. There's a lot of things. You see the mountain. If you're at the bottom of the mountain, you're looking up. You're like, man, this is a tall mountain. How am I going to get to the top? And it's just one step at a time. And I have seen it. I've seen people over and over again go from zero experience to killing it in cybersecurity. And we've been part of their journey just a little bit to help them and guide them. And so I know it's possible. We have done it. You can do it. So just be encouraged that it is possible, even though it just takes work. It takes work, and having a mentor is great. Even if you don't have that, then you can still do it, but it does help. And just, don't just listen to us. Look for other resources. There's a ton of resources out there about how to get in cybersecurity, but it really is putting the reps in, putting the work in, asking for help, and keep on keeping on. But just, I hope this was useful. I think we hit a lot of good areas. A little bit longer than our first episode, which is good because we got so much content. I think that was great for this episode, but we really appreciate it. Steve, any final thoughts?
Yeah. No, just want to say thank you to everybody listening. If you have any questions at all, if you even want to share your story, if you have found this helpful and you've connected with some of the things that we've shared here, and you have your own story, we would love to hear it. We would love to hear from you. So please use our Discord. Other than that, I just want to say thank you all for listening. We have a lot more episodes to come, so stay tuned for more. But if you have any questions or just any feedback on what you've heard so far, please let us know. We're happy to hear from you.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Cybersecurity Mentors podcast.
Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you get all the episodes. Join us next time as we continue to unlock the secrets of cybersecurity mentorship.
Do you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover, or do you want to share your journey? Join us on Discord at Cybersecurity Mentors Podcast and follow us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, I'm John Hoyt.
And I'm Steve Higuereta.
Thank you for listening.